Zoe, sprinting, Nigerian, breathtaking, high cheekbones, natural hair wild, deep brown skin gleaming with sweat and rain. Widow's black dress torn at the hem, barefoot, heels abandoned 2 blocks ago, eyes wide but focused, running like her life has been practicing for this exact moment. Behind her, 3 men, suits, earpieces, running with the efficiency of people paid to catch things. "Stop running! Mrs. Park wants to talk." "Your Mrs. Park can go to hell." She rounds a corner into an alley. Dead end. Dumpsters. Brick wall. No exit. She spins, back against the wall, the 3 men closing in. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." "My husband died protecting me. I'm not letting you kill what he saved." Nobody said anything about killing. Black Mercedes G-Wagon explodes around the corner, doesn't brake, slams into 2 of the men at 40 miles per hour. Bodies fly, glass shatters. The 3rd man dives left, rolls, comes up reaching for his gun. The Mercedes stops. Door opens. Shin Min steps out. Korean, devastatingly handsome in the dangerous way, sharp jawline, eyes like frozen Han River, expensive black suit now wrinkled from impact, blood on his knuckles from the steering wheel. He looks at the man reaching for his gun. "I wouldn't." The man freezes. "Get in the car." "Who the hell are you?" "Someone who just killed 2 people by accident. So either get in the car or explain to the police why you were being chased through Gangnam at 2 a.m. Sirens in the distance. Zoe looks at the bodies, at the remaining man, at Shin Min, at the open car door. She runs and gets in. Shin Min slides back into the driver's seat. The car reverses over broken glass and speeds away, leaving the 3rd man standing in an alley with 2 corpses and no explanation. Inside the car, silence except for Zoe's breathing. Who were they? "My husband's family. They want me dead." "Why?" "Because I'm still breathing." Shin Min glances at her, really sees her for the first time, processes, widow's dress, wedding ring still on, eyes carrying fresh grief and older fury. "Who was your husband?" "Park Ji-ho. He died 3 weeks ago, and his family thinks I killed him." Shin Min's hands tighten on the wheel. Something moves across his face. "Park Ji-ho. You knew him?" Long pause. Seoul's lights streaming past the windows. "Yeah, I knew him." "Okay, pause. Real talk. If you were Zoe in that moment, car door open, stranger just killed 2 people, sirens getting closer, are you getting in that car or are you running the other direction? Drop your answer in the comments right now because I genuinely want to know. Welcome to Black and Korean Chronicles. Whether you're watching this from your bedroom in Lagos at midnight, your lunch break in London, on your morning commute in Seoul, or somewhere in Accra where you should definitely be sleeping right now, welcome. You're home. Hit that subscribe button because this Zoe story, she doesn't just survive. She becomes something the Park family never saw coming. A widow with nothing left to lose, and a mafia boss who discovered that sometimes the person you save by accident is exactly the person you needed to meet. And listen, before we go any further, where are you watching from? Seriously, type it right now. Lagos, Abuja, Seoul, Kumasi? I see you, Toronto. What's up, Atlanta? London people, I know you're here. Comment your city, because this story was literally made for all of us. This is a love story, a revenge story, and proof that sometimes the person who saves your life changes it completely. 6 months before the alley, before everything changed. Adebayo Zoe met Park Ji-ho at a Nigerian restaurant in Itaewon on a Friday evening in March. She'd been in Seoul for 2 years, working for an international development NGO, building clean water infrastructure partnerships between Korean tech companies and West African governments. She had a master's degree from the London School of Economics, spoke 4 languages fluently, and had the specific confidence of a Nigerian woman raised by parents who told her daily, "You bow to God and your elders. Everyone else can adjust accordingly." Jiho walked into the restaurant looking magnificently lost, handsome in an understated way, wearing business casual and the expression of someone who'd been told to try African food by a colleague and was now deeply uncertain about this life choice. He sat 2 tables away, stared at the menu like it was written in ancient Sumerian. Zoe watched him for 3 minutes, then stood up, walked to his table, sat down completely uninvited. "Order the jollof rice with plantain and pepper chicken," she said in perfect Korean. "Trust me." He looked up, startled, then smiled, genuinely, the kind of smile that reaches the eyes before the mouth catches up. "Is it very spicy? Are you very brave?" He laughed. "I don't know yet. Then you're about to find out." That was their entire first conversation. He ordered what she suggested. She returned to her table. He ate, clearly suffering the pepper but refusing to show it. And when he left, he stopped at her table. "Thank you. That was an experience." "A good one?" "I don't know yet," he said. "Ask me when my mouth stops burning." "How long will that take?" "Maybe 3 days, maybe forever. I'll let you know." She gave him her number. He called her 4 days later. "My mouth stopped burning. Turns out it was a good experience." They were married within the year. Here's what Zoe learned about Park Ji-ho in those 12 months. He was the middle son of the Park family, old soul money, massive real estate holdings, 3 generations of wealth built on post-war reconstruction contracts and strategic marriages. His family had a reputation: traditional, conservative, intensely private, and deeply invested in maintaining the specific kind of appearances that required everyone around them to be carefully curated. His mother, Park Mi-suk, was a woman who treated social hierarchy like gospel and had very specific ideas about who was acceptable for her sons to marry. Those ideas had a color palette, and Zoe wasn't anywhere near it. Jiho's older brother had married appropriately, daughter of another prominent family, ceremonial wedding with 800 guests photographed for 3 different magazines. Perfect lineage, perfect alliance, perfect continuation of everything the family valued. Jiho married Zoe in a small ceremony with 40 people at a garden venue in Yeonnam-dang. His mother didn't attend. His father came but left immediately after the vows, without congratulating them. His older brother sent an expensive gift with a card that said simply, "Good luck, you'll need it." "They'll come around," Jiho said on their wedding night, holding her on the small balcony of their apartment in Sungdong-gu, deliberately chosen far from his family's Gangnam fortress. "And if they don't?" Zoe asked. "Then I have you. That's more than I deserve and more than enough." She believed him. Turned out he meant it more literally than either of them knew. The marriage was 18 months of private joy wrapped in escalating family pressure. His mother called weekly with the same rotating concerns, delivered in increasingly less subtle language: the embarrassment to the family name, the what will people think, the concern about heirs who wouldn't look like Parks. She said this last part during the one and only family dinner they attended, while looking directly at Zoe's melanin-rich skin like it was a deliberate personal offense. She smiled, sipped her wine, and responded in perfect Korean. "Mother Park, your son looks very much like a Park. Our children will be 50% his genetics. I'd say half Park is more Park than most people ever get to be." The entire table went silent. Jiho covered his laugh with a cough that didn't fool anyone. His mother stood up and left the dining room without finishing her meal. In the car afterward, Jiho was laughing so hard he had to pull over. "You just declared war on my mother." "Baby, your mother declared war the moment I walked into that house with your last name. I just fired back." He kissed her in that pulled-over car on Olympic Daurao and said, "I love you so unreasonably much." "Good," she said. "Reasonable love is boring. Reasonable love doesn't survive your family." The night everything shattered started unremarkably. They were at a gallery opening in Samcheong-dong, a mutual friends photography exhibition featuring images of urban Africa. Zoe wore yellow, her power color, the color her mother always said made her look like bottled sunshine. Ji-ho wore the navy suit she'd bought him. They were standing in front of a photograph of Lagos's third mainland bridge at golden hour when she felt it. The specific atmospheric shift of being watched with intention. She turned, saw Ji-ho's older brother, Park Jun-ho, across the gallery. He wasn't looking at the art. He was looking at them with an expression she'd never seen on his face before. Not the usual polite disdain, something colder, harder, strategic. "Your brother is here," she said quietly. Ji-ho turned, saw him, frowned immediately. Jun-ho hates art. Why would he? Before he could finish, Jun-ho was walking toward them, not socially, with purpose. "Ji-ho, we need to talk. Family emergency." "It can wait until—" "It absolutely cannot." Jun-ho's eyes flicked to Zoe, then away, like looking at her cost him something. "Privately." Zoe felt Ji-ho's hand tighten protectively around hers. "Whatever you need to say to me, you can say in front of my wife." "Fine." Junho's voice dropped to a register designed not to carry. "Father is dying. Liver cancer, stage 4. 6 months maximum. And mother has made her position extremely clear. Your situation needs to be resolved before he passes." "My situation," Ji-ho repeated very slowly, very carefully, "is my marriage." "Your marriage," Jun-ho said, looking directly at Zoe now with something worse than hatred, pity mixed with contempt, "is to a woman who will inherit absolutely nothing when father dies. The will has been completely rewritten. You've been removed from primary inheritance. Everything goes to me unless you—" He paused deliberately. "Unless you correct this mistake while there's still time." Zoe felt the gallery floor tilt slightly beneath her heels. Ji-ho's hand on hers was the only solid thing in the suddenly liquid world. "Get out," Ji-ho said. His voice was quieter than she'd ever heard it. That was more terrifying than if he'd shouted. "Ji-ho, you need to think about—" "Get the fuck out of my sight before I forget we share blood." Jun-ho held his gaze for 3 long seconds, then turned and walked away. They stood there surrounded by photographs of other people's cities, other people's sunsets. Finally, Ji-ho turned to her. "I don't want their money, Zoe." "I know. I want you. Only you. Always you." "I know, baby. We're going to be fine." She nodded, believed him completely. 2 weeks later, he was dead. The accident happened on a Wednesday. Ji-ho left for work that morning the way he always did, kissed Zoe's forehead while she was still half asleep, whispered, "I love you unreasonably," and left a post-it note on the bathroom mirror that said, "You're the best thing that ever happened to my bloodline," with a small heart drawn next to it. She found that note after the police called. His car went off Olympic Dairo into the Han River at 9:47 a.m. Single vehicle accident, no witnesses, no dash cam footage recovered. The car sank in 14 meters of water, and by the time emergency services pulled it out 3 hours later, Ji-ho Park was gone. The police called it an accident, driver error, possible momentary distraction, tragic but ultimately explainable. But Zoe knew better the moment she saw his car. The steering column had been tampered with. The brake lines showed signs of deliberate cutting. She'd grown up with 2 older brothers who rebuilt engines for fun. She knew what sabotage looked like, even when everyone around her was determined to call it fate. "Mrs. Park," the detective said gently, Grief can sometimes make us see things that, my husband's brakes were cut. Someone murdered him. Then you didn't look hard enough. But they weren't going to look harder. The case was closed within 48 hours. Accidental death. The Park family made it sure of it. The funeral was 3 days later. Zoe wore black, stood at the front of the cathedral beside Jiho's closed casket. They said the water damage was too severe for an open viewing, which she knew was a lie because she'd demanded to see his body, and they let her. And he looked like Jiho, just sleeping, just gone. The Park family sat in the front row, across the aisle from her, close enough to look unified for the cameras, distant enough to make the separation clear. Park Mi-suk wore white, the traditional Korean mourning color, and didn't look at Zoe once during the entire ceremony. Junho sat beside his mother, rigid, eyes forward, playing the devastated brother for 300 attendees who wouldn't know grief if it sat on their chests. Zoe's parents had flown in from Lagos. Her father sat on one side of her mother on the other, both of them holding her hands like they could physically keep her from falling apart. Her mother whispered in Yoruba, "Omidanmi, be strong, we are here." After the burial, during the reception at the Park family estate that Zoe had only been inside once before, for that disastrous dinner, Park Mi-suk finally acknowledged her existence. Mrs. Park, the title delivered with all the warmth of January Seoul. We need to discuss arrangements. Arrangements? Zoe's voice was steady. That surprised her. Grief hadn't taken her voice yet. You'll need to vacate the Seongdong apartment by the end of the month. It was purchased under family holdings. Jiho's personal accounts will be frozen pending estate resolution. His life insurance policy lists the family trust as primary beneficiary. Mi-suk's face was carved marble. You're welcome to keep any personal gifts he gave you. The rest belongs to the family. Zoe stared at this woman whose son had been buried 90 minutes ago. You're doing this now? At his funeral? There's no good time for practical matters, but they must be addressed. He was your son. Yes, and you were his mistake, one we're now forced to correct. Zoe's father moved forward, but her mother's hand on his arm stopped him. Her mother whispered in Yoruba, "Not here, not now. Let them show who they are. We take notes." Zoe looked at Park Mi-suk and saw it clearly. This woman didn't just want her gone. She wanted her erased. Every trace of Jiho's choice removed from family history, like it never happened. "I'm not leaving," Zoe said quietly. "I'm sorry?" "The apartment is in both our names. The accounts are joint. You can freeze whatever you want. I have my own income. And if you think I'm walking away from my husband's memory because you're uncomfortable with it, you don't know me at all." "I know exactly what you are." Mi-suk's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried more violence than shouting. "You're a foreign woman who saw an opportunity and took it. My son was too naive to see it, but he's gone now, and you have nothing. I have his name, I have his ring, I have 18 months of a marriage you couldn't destroy while he was alive, and I'm not going anywhere." She turned and walked away before Mi-suk could respond. Her father caught up to her in the hallway. "Zoe, Daddy," her voice finally cracked. "They killed him, and they're acting like I'm the problem." "I know, baby girl, I know." "What do I do?" Her father, who had raised 3 children on a civil servant's salary and taught them all that dignity was the only thing nobody could take from you, looked at his youngest daughter and said, "You survive, and then you make them regret it." The first attempt on her life came 2 weeks later. She was leaving the NGO office in Jongno at 8 p.m. The parking garage was mostly empty, just her car and 2 others on the 3rd level. She was halfway to her vehicle when she heard the footsteps behind her. Fast, deliberate, multiple sets. She ran, made it to her car, fumbled with keys, got the door open, and a hand grabbed her arm, yanked her back. She screamed, twisted, her self-defense training from university kicking in. Elbow to ribs, heel stomp to instep. One man went down, but there were two more. Security lights suddenly flooded the level, a guard on rounds. Her attackers ran, disappeared into the stairwell before the guard could reach her. "Mrs. Park, are you all right?" She was shaking, adrenaline crashing through her system like broken glass. "Call the police." They came, took statements, reviewed camera footage that somehow had a convenient 15-minute gap. No faces visible, no license plates on any vehicle that didn't belong to regular office workers. The detective, different one this time, younger, less dismissive, said quietly, "Mrs. Park, do you have somewhere safe you can stay? This was my husband's family, wasn't it?" He didn't answer, didn't need to. His silence was answer enough. "I can't prove anything," he said finally, "but if you're asking if you should be careful, yes, be very careful." She moved 3 times in 2 weeks, different motels each time, paid cash, told no one where she was, not even her parents. If they didn't know, they couldn't accidentally reveal it. But the Park family had resources she couldn't match. Money, connections, people whose entire job was finding things that didn't want to be found. The second attempt was the alley. She'd been to her bank trying to access funds that kept getting mysteriously frozen despite court orders. It was late. She was exhausted, wasn't paying attention the way she should have been. The black car followed her for 3 blocks before she noticed. When she did, she started running, heels off, phone in hand, but who would she call? The police who kept closing her husband's case? The family who wanted her dead? She ran into that alley thinking it was an escape route. It was a trap. And then, headlights, impact, glass, a stranger's voice saying, "Get in the car." Inside Shinmin's Mercedes, 5 minutes after the collision. "Where are we going?" Zoe's breathing was finally slowing. "Somewhere they won't look." Shinmin's eyes never left the road. "You said Park Ji-ho was your husband." "Yes." "How did he die?" "His family murdered him." She said it plainly, simply. The truth she'd been screaming into police reports that went nowhere. They cut his brake lines, sent him into the Han River, called it an accident. Shinmin was quiet for a long moment. Then, why? "Because he married me. Because I'm Nigerian. Because I ruined their perfect family portrait." Her voice hardened. "Because they're cowards who couldn't accept that their son chose love over legacy. And now they're trying to kill you? They want what little he left me. Property, accounts. I don't even care about the money. I just won't let them erase him like he never existed." Shinmin pulled into an underground parking garage, private building, security gate, the kind of place that cost more per month than most people made in a year. He parked, turned to look at her directly for the first time since the alley. "Park Ji-ho saved my life 6 years ago," he said quietly. "I was 19, stupid, got involved with the wrong people. He was working as a consultant for my father's business, saw me making mistakes, pulled me aside, talked me out of decisions that would have gotten me killed. I never got to repay that debt." Zoe stared at him. "So you're helping me because—" "Because I owed him. And because," he paused, something complicated moving across his face, "because what his family is doing is wrong, and I don't let wrong things happen if I can stop them." "You just killed 2 men." "I killed 2 men who were hunting you. There's a difference." "Is there?" He smiled, brief, sharp, dangerous. "You tell me, are you sorry they're dead?" She wasn't. That should have scared her. It didn't. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now?" Shinmin opened his door. "Now we come inside, we figure out what you have that they want badly enough to kill for, and then we decide what you want to do about it." "I want them to pay." "Pay how?" Zoe thought of Ji-ho's last post-it note, his smile, the way he'd fought for her against his entire family and lost everything, including his life. "I want everything, every single thing they value. I want to take it all and watch them break." Shinmin studied her face, then nodded slowly. "Okay then, let's start planning." Shinmin's apartment was exactly what Zoe expected from a man who drove a Mercedes G-Wagon through human beings without flinching. Minimalist, expensive, and sterile in the way spaces get when nobody actually lives in them, just exists between assignments. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Gangnam, black leather furniture, a kitchen that looked like it had never seen actual cooking. Everything precise, everything controlled. He gestured to the couch. "Sit, I'll get you something clean to wear." Zoe looked down at herself. Torn black dress, bare feet filthy from running, dried blood on her hands where she'd scraped them against the alley wall. She looked like exactly what she was, a woman who'd barely survived the night. He returned with a black t-shirt and gray sweatpants. "Bathrooms down the hall. There's a first aid kit under the sink." She took them without speaking, walked to the bathroom, closed the door, looked at herself in the mirror. Her hair was wild, natural curls that had completely abandoned any pretense of the neat bun she'd started the day with. Her makeup was smeared, but her eyes were clear, sharp, the specific clarity that comes after adrenaline burns through everything else and leaves only purpose. She cleaned up, changed, came back out to find Shin at the dining table with a laptop open and her purse, which she had somehow managed to keep through everything, sitting in front of him. "Your phone has 3 tracking apps on it," he said without looking up. "1, official, find my phone. 2, that aren't. I've disabled them, but you can't turn this phone back on. Ever." Zoe sat across from him. "How did you—" "This is what I do," he finally looked up. "Among other things." "What other things?" "Things I'm very good at that we don't need to discuss right now." He closed the laptop. "Tell me about your husband. Everything. Start from the beginning." So she did. She told him about the restaurant, the jollof rice, the way Jiho had called her 4 days later just to tell her his mouth had stopped burning. She told him about the wedding his family didn't attend, about the 18 months of joy wrapped in increasing pressure, about the gallery opening and Junho's ultimatum about the will. She told him about the morning Jiho died, the Post-it note, the phone call from police, the car pulled from the Han River with brake lines that showed clear evidence of tampering that everyone ignored. Shin listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Did Jiho ever mention a safe deposit box?" Zoe frowned. "No, why?" "Because men who know they're in danger usually leave insurance, something that protects the people they love if things go wrong." He pulled a key from his pocket, small, brass, numbers engraved on the side. "I found this in your purse, hidden in the lining." She stared at it. "I've never seen that before." "Someone put it there. Recently. The lining was resewn. Amateur job. Last few days, maybe." His eyes were sharp. "Who has had access to your purse since Jiho died?" Zoe thought back. "Just me. And—" She stopped. "His lawyer, Attorney Kim. He came to the apartment 3 days after the funeral, said he needed to go through some documents. I left him alone in the bedroom for maybe 10 minutes while I made tea." "What did he say he was looking for?" "Life insurance paperwork, but he left saying he'd found everything he needed." Her heart was beating faster now. "You think Jiho left something?" "I think your husband was smarter than his family gave him credit for." Shin stood. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow morning we find out what this key opens." "I can't sleep." "You have to. Because tomorrow starts a different kind of fight, and you need to be sharp for it." He walked toward what she assumed was his bedroom, paused at the door. "Zoe." "Yes?" "Your husband died protecting you. Don't let his family win by getting yourself killed before we finish what he started." He closed the door. Zoe sat on his couch in borrowed clothes in a stranger's apartment and felt something shift in her chest. Not grief, she'd been carrying that for weeks. Something harder, colder. Her father's voice in her head. "You survive, and then you make them regret it." She was done just surviving. Morning came too fast and not fast enough. Shin drove them to 3 different banks before they found the right one, a small private institution in Socho that specialized in discreet financial services, which was code for, "We help rich people hide things." The manager recognized the key immediately, led them to a private viewing room, left them alone with a medium-sized safety deposit box. Zoe's hands shook as she opened it. Inside, documents, USB drives, and a letter, her name written in Jiho's handwriting on the envelope. She picked up the letter first, her vision blurred. "My Zoe, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I'm so, so sorry. I knew my family would come for you. I've known for weeks, since Junho delivered that ultimatum at the gallery. I heard them talking at father's bedside when I visited him alone. They've already rewritten the will, already decided you're a problem to be eliminated once I'm no longer here to protect you. I won't let them win. Everything in this box is 20 years of family secrets, illegal construction permits, bribed officials, tax evasion schemes, money laundering through shell companies. I've been documenting it all since I joined the family business at 22, not because I planned to use it, but because I knew someday I might need insurance. Someday is now. The USB drives contain recordings, board meetings, private conversations, transaction receipts, enough to destroy the family business completely if properly leveraged, enough to send Junho and mother to prison if you want them there. But Zoe, my love, I don't want you to become them in trying to fight them. You're too good for that, too pure. Use this however you see fit. Burn it all down or walk away with your freedom. Either way, you'll have what they can never take from you, the truth. I love you unreasonably. I loved you from the first moment you sat at my table uninvited and told me to trust you. You were right then. I'm asking you to trust yourself now. Whatever you choose to do, live, Zoe. Live loudly and fully and exactly as yourself. That's the revenge that would hurt them most. Being happy, being free, being everything they said you couldn't be. Yours, always and beyond always, Jiho. Zoe read it twice, then folded it carefully and put it back in the envelope. Shin had been reading through the documents while she read the letter. He looked up. "This is nuclear," he said quietly. "This is enough to dismantle the entire Park family structure. Financial ruin, criminal prosecution, public disgrace. Everything. Good. Zoe." His voice carried a warning. "Once we start this, there's no taking it back. They'll know it came from you. They'll come harder." "Let them come." She looked at him steadily. "They killed my husband. They tried to kill me. They wanted to erase us like we never existed." Her jaw set. "I'm going to make sure everyone in Seoul knows exactly what the Park family is. And then I'm going to take everything they have left." Shin studied her face for a long moment. Then he smiled, sharp, dangerous, approving. "Okay then. We'll need help. My people are good, but this requires legal expertise, media connections, political leverage." He started gathering the documents. "I know someone who specializes in taking down powerful families. She's expensive, but worth every won." "I don't have money. They've frozen everything." "I do." He looked at her directly. "Consider it an investment in seeing the people who killed Park Jiho get exactly what they deserve." "Why are you doing this?" Zoe asked. "Really, it can't just be because you owed him." Shin was quiet. Then, "My father was destroyed by a family like the Parks. They used him, bled him dry, then discarded him when he was no longer useful. He died believing he'd failed, that he was worthless." His voice went cold. "I was 15. I couldn't fight back then. I can now." "So this is revenge for you too?" "No," he met her eyes. "This is justice. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Justice," he said carefully, "is when the punishment fits the crime, when the scales balance, when the powerful finally answer for what they've done to the powerless." He paused. Revenge is personal. This is bigger than personal. This is structural. Zoe looked at the box full of documents, at the evidence of 20 years of corruption, at her husband's final gift to her, the weapon he'd built in case she ever needed to fight back. "How long will it take?" she asked. "To gather everything, build the case, find the right moment to strike?" Shin calculated. 3 months, maybe 4. "I can wait 4 months." "Can you?" "They'll keep hunting you. You'll have to stay hidden. No contact with family, friends, anyone who might—" "I can wait 4 months," she repeated, stronger. "I waited 18 months to marry him. I can wait 4 more to make sure his death meant something." Shin nodded slowly. "Then we start today." They started with attorney Kim. Shin made 1 phone call. 6 hours later, they were sitting across from the lawyer in a private office in Gangnam, far from Park family territory. Kim was nervous the moment he saw Zoe alive. Started to stand, started to make excuses. Shin placed 1 photo on the desk. Kim meeting with Park Jun-ho, taken 2 days before the funeral. The lawyer sat back down. "Mrs. Park," he said carefully, "I can explain." "You were supposed to be my husband's lawyer," Zoe said. Her voice was ice. "You put that key in my purse. Why?" Kim's hands shook. "Because Jiho asked me to, 3 weeks before he died. He knew they were going to kill him, and he knew they'd come for you next. He made me promise, if anything happened to him, I'd make sure you got that key." "Why not just give it to me?" "Because they were watching. They had people monitoring everything. If I'd given it to you directly, they would have known. I had to wait until I could hide it where they wouldn't notice." He looked at her with something like guilt. "I'm sorry. I should have done more. Should have warned you sooner." "You can warn me now," Zoe said. "Tell me everything you know." Attorney Kim talked for 2 hours. He told them about the family meeting 3 days after Jiho's death, about Park Mi-suk explicitly ordering Zoe to be removed from the situation permanently, about the 2 attempts that had already been made, about a 3rd one being planned. He told them about the will, completely rewritten, Jiho removed, everything consolidated under Jun-ho's control, contingent on resolving all outstanding complications before the father's death. He told them about the family's legitimate businesses and the shadow businesses underneath, about construction deals built on bribery, about politicians on the family payroll, about the web of corruption so extensive that dismantling it would shake Seoul's entire power structure. When he finished, Shin looked at Zoe. "Still want to do this?" "More than before. It's going to get worse before it gets better. They're going to come at you with everything. Let them." Zoe stood, looked at Attorney Kim. "You're going to help us. You're going to provide testimony, documents, everything." "They'll kill me." "They're going to kill you anyway," Shin said calmly. "The moment you're no longer useful. Right now, you're useful to us. Choose wisely." Kim looked between them. Zoe, young, widow, supposedly powerless. Shin dangerous, connected, clearly capable of the kind of protection Kim would need. "What do you need from me?" Kim asked finally. "Everything," Zoe said. "I want every file, every recording, every piece of evidence Jiho collected, and everything you've gathered. I want access to the family's financial records. I want names of every official they've bribed, every deal they've fixed, every crime they've committed and buried." "That will take weeks to compile." "You have 3 days," Shin said. "After that, we move forward with or without your full cooperation. But if you choose without, I can't promise the Park family won't find out you were in this room." Kim went pale. 3 days? He whispered. Day 11 of hiding in Shin apartment, Zoe woke to her face on the news. Not just one channel, every channel, simultaneously. She stood in the living room in borrowed pajamas, coffee cup frozen halfway to her mouth, watching her wedding photo, cropped to remove Jiho, displayed beside the words, "Wanted for questioning," suspected involvement in husband's death. Shin came out of his office, phone already pressed to his ear, 3 other phones on the table lighting up with calls he wasn't answering. The news anchor's voice: "The Park family has come forward with new evidence suggesting that Adebayo Zoe, widow of Park Ji-ho, may have had financial motivation and opportunity in her husband's death. Police have issued a warrant for questioning after forensic accountants discovered large transfers from Park Ji-ho's accounts to overseas accounts registered in Mrs. Park's name in the weeks before his death." "That's a lie," Zoe said. Her voice was steady, but her hands had started shaking. "I never touched his money. I never—" "I know." Shin ended his call, started another. "They fabricated the transfers. My people are already tracing the actual origin. It's coming from Park family accounts, routed through shell companies to make it look like you. It's professional work, expensive." "How long to prove it's fake?" 2 weeks minimum, maybe 3. His jaw tightened. "They're smart. They released this during morning news cycle, maximum visibility. By noon, every major outlet will have picked it up. By evening, social media will have tried and convicted you." The screen shifted. Park Mi-suk, dressed in elegant black, sitting for an interview, tears in her eyes, calculated, perfect tears. "We loved Zoe. We welcomed her into our family despite our concerns. And now," she paused, composed herself with visible effort, "now we discover she may have been behind our son's death all along, for money, for inheritance. We just want justice for Ji-ho." Zoe felt something white-hot and violent move through her chest. "They're going to win," she said quietly. "Even if we prove the transfers are fake, even if we release everything Ji-ho collected, this narrative is out there now. People will believe I'm a gold digger who killed her husband. Black woman, rich Korean family. It fits every stereotype they want to believe." "No," Shin voice cut through. "They're not going to win. They just moved too early." "How is this too early?" "Because we weren't ready to strike yet. Now we have to be." He made 3 more calls in rapid succession, speaking in clipped Korean too fast for Zoe to follow completely. When he finished, "Attorney Kim finished compiling the files yesterday. We were going to spend another week corroborating sources, building the legal framework. We don't have that time now." "So what do? "We release everything, tonight. Every document, every recording, every piece of evidence Ji-ho collected, and everything you've gathered. I want access to the Park family's financial records. I want names of every official they've bribed, every deal they've fixed, every crime they've committed and buried." "That will take weeks to compile." "You have 3 days," Shin said. "After that, we move forward with or without your full cooperation. But if you choose without, I can't promise the Park family won't find out you were in this room." Kim went pale. 3 days? He whispered. At 6 p.m., the internet exploded. Not through traditional media, they'd have suppressed it, through an anonymous website that went live simultaneously with posts on every major Korean social media platform, every international news aggregator, every forum where the Park family's reach didn't extend. The Park Files, 20 years of corruption exposed. Documents, hundreds of them. Construction permits purchased through bribes, officials named, amounts listed, bank transfers documented, tax evasion schemes spanning 3 mayoral administrations, money laundering through legitimate businesses, tracked transaction by transaction, shell companies, offshore accounts, political contributions that became political control, and recordings. Ji-ho had recorded everything. Board meetings where illegal deals were discussed openly, phone calls between Park Mi-suk and city officials arranging favorable zoning, Junho threatening a business competitor with violence if they didn't sell their land at a fraction of market value, and one recording, dated 3 weeks before Ji-ho's death, of Park Mi-suk and Junho discussing handling the foreign wife problem in language that made their intentions clear. "He won't leave her voluntarily," Mi-suk's voice, crystal clear. "So we remove the choice." How? Junho. An accident. He drives that route every morning. It's a straight shot into the river if someone wasn't careful enough. And her? After suitable mourning, we resolve it quietly. Women like her disappear all the time. People barely notice. The recording was time-stamped, authenticated, verified by 3 independent audio forensic specialists whose credentials were listed in detail. By 7 p.m., it was trending #1 in Korea. By 8 p.m., international news outlets were picking it up. By 9 p.m., the prosecutor's office announced they were opening a formal investigation into Park Ji-ho's death and the Park family's business practices. By 10 p.m., Park Mi-suk and Park Jun-ho were taken into custody for questioning. By midnight, the Park family's stock had dropped 43% and trading was halted. Zoe watched it all from Shin Min's apartment, watched her phone, a new one he'd given her, blow up with messages from journalists, supporters, family members she hadn't spoken to in weeks because she'd been too afraid to put them in danger. Her mother: "Baby girl, we saw. We're coming to Seoul. Don't you dare tell us not to." Her father: "You made him proud, Zoe. You made us all proud." Attorney Kim: "Thank you for letting me do the right thing, finally." And one message from a number she didn't recognize: "Your husband would be proud of you." Someone who knew him well. She showed that one to Shin Min. He looked at it for a long moment. "That's from his university professor," he said quietly. "Ji-ho talked about you to everyone who would listen, showed your photo, told everyone you were the best decision he ever made." He paused. He wasn't wrong. 3 months later. The trials were ongoing. Park Mi-suk and Jun-ho both denied involvement in Ji-ho's death, despite the recording, claimed it was fabricated, taken out of context, not what it sounded like. Their lawyers were the most expensive in Seoul. It didn't matter. The evidence was overwhelming. 17 city officials were under investigation. 4 had already resigned. The Park family's construction empire was being dismantled piece by piece, assets frozen, contracts voided. Zoe's name had been cleared completely, the fabricated transfers traced back to their source, the arrest warrant withdrawn with a formal public apology. She was standing in front of Ji-ho's grave in the cemetery overlooking the Han River. She came every week, brought fresh flowers, talked to him like he could hear. "We did it, baby," she said quietly. "Everything you built, everything you documented, it worked. They're going to pay for what they did to you, to us." She touched the headstone, simple granite, his name in Korean and English both. Park Ji-ho, beloved husband, gone too soon, remembered always. "I miss you every single day," she said quietly. "Every morning I wake up and forget for half a second that you're not there, and then I remember, and it still hurts just as much as it did 3 months ago." The wind moved through the trees above his grave. Seoul spread out below, glittering, indifferent, beautiful. "But I'm living, Ji-ho, like you asked me to. I'm living loudly. I'm living exactly as myself. And you were right. That's the best revenge. Being here, being free, being everything they said I couldn't be." She stood there for a long time, then kissed her fingers, pressed them to his name carved in stone, and turned to leave. Shin Min was waiting by his car at the cemetery gate. He didn't ask if she was okay. He'd learned she hated that question. Just opened the car door, let her get in, drove in comfortable silence. "Where do you want to go?" he asked finally. Zoe looked out at Seoul's skyline, the city where she'd met Ji-ho, where she'd married him, where she'd lost him, where she'd fought to make his death mean something. "Home," she said, then corrected, "Your place, for now." "It's your place too," Shin Min said, "for as long as you need it." She looked at him, this man who'd hit 2 people with his car to save her life, who'd given her shelter and resources and helped her burn down an entire family empire, this dangerous, complicated man who'd become something she hadn't expected. A friend, maybe more than a friend. Too soon to know, too soon to name it, but something. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." "Jing Ji-ho," Shin Min said quietly. "He built the weapon. You just learned how to use it." We learned how to use it. He smiled, brief, genuine. Yeah, we did. 6 months after that, Zoe was in her own apartment now, different building, different neighborhood, bought with money from a settlement the Park family had been forced to pay her. Blood money, technically. She didn't care. She used it to fund 3 scholarships for African women studying in Korea, used it to establish a foundation in Jiho's name for interracial couples facing family opposition, used it to live. Shin men came by twice a week, sometimes for dinner, sometimes just to sit on her balcony and watch Seoul's sunset in comfortable silence. Sometimes because she called him at 2 a.m. when the grief was too heavy and said, "I need you to tell me it gets easier." And he'd say, "It doesn't get easier, it just gets different." And somehow that honesty helped more than any lie would have. They never discussed what they were to each other. Labels felt too small for something this complicated. He'd saved her life. She'd given him a purpose beyond violence. That was enough. For now. Park Mi-suk and Junho were convicted, 15 years and 12 years respectively, multiple charges. The family empire dissolved completely, assets sold, holdings redistributed, the name Park suddenly carrying weight of a different kind in Seoul. Zoe's parents visited twice, brought her favorite foods from home, sat with her, let her cry when she needed to, celebrated when she smiled. And every Sunday, she visited Jiho's grave, told him about her week, about the foundation, about Shin Min's terrible cooking attempts, about how she was learning to carry him with her instead of being crushed by his absence. "I loved you unreasonably," she said, on the 6-month anniversary of his death. "And I still do, always will. But I'm also learning to love being alive. You'd want that, right?" The wind moved through the trees. She chose to believe that was him answering, yes. So, that's Zoe's story, and I need you to sit with that for a second because I'm sitting with it too. A woman lost her husband, got blamed for his death, got hunted by his family, and instead of disappearing, instead of running back home and trying to forget Korea ever happened, she stayed, she fought, and she won. But here's what I keep thinking about, and I want you to comment this because I genuinely want to know what you think. Was the revenge worth it? Like, yes, she got justice. Yes, the family paid. But Jiho is still gone. She's still a widow at 24. She still wakes up every morning and he's not there. Is that winning? Or is that just surviving with better documentation? If you made it this far, thank you. Seriously. These stories, they're long, they're heavy. They ask you to sit with complicated emotions, and not all of you will finish them. But you did, and that means something to me. I want to know, where are you watching from right now, and what time is it there? Because I'm wondering if you're on a lunch break in London, or you can't sleep in Lagos, or you're on your commute in Seoul, or you're supposed to be studying in Accra, but you clicked on this instead. Comment your city and what time it is. I read every single one. I want to know who's on the other side of this screen. And real talk, if you've ever been Zoe in any version of this story, if you've ever had to fight for your right to exist in a space that didn't want you, if you've ever been blamed for surviving something that tried to kill you, I see you. This channel sees you. You're not alone in this. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Not because I need the numbers. I mean, I do, that's how this works, but because I'm building something here. A space where African and Korean stories don't just exist side by side. They intertwine. They complicate each other. They show us parts of ourselves we didn't know were there. Thank you for trusting me with your time. Thank you for listening to Zoe's story. Thank you for being part of this community we're building, one complicated story at a time. I'll see you in the next one.